Good morning, good-looking people, and you're good-looking because you're always looking, and of course, you are finding the good in everything and in everybody. Hope you're well. Hope you had a wonderful Shabbos. It was Parshas Noach, a nice relaxing weekend. Today we're going to be doing the Hayom Yom for yesterday, which was the 6th of Cheshvan. Today's Hayom Yom is very interesting. Can you imagine? There's a Rebbe that's about to bless you with wealth and give you exactly what everybody asks for 1,000 times a day. And that chassid said, nah, I'm good. I don't need it. What is going on here? And that's what today's Hayom Yom is all about. So let's read it inside, and then I'll give you a little bit of background and the connection to the week. So for the 6th of Cheshvan, it says as follows. When the Alter Rebbe wished to bless Rabbi Yekusiel Leeper with wealth, the latter replied he had no desire for it, lest it interfere with the study of his Chassidus and his involvement in divine services. When the Alter Rebbe then sought to bless him with a long life, he replied, but not with peasant years, not years for those who have eyes but do not see, who have ears but do not hear, and who neither see nor hear godliness. Very confusing Hayom Yom, but a huge lesson. So let's recap. So Rabbi Yekusiel went to the Alter Rebbe, and the Alter Rebbe gave him a blessing and said, I'm going to wish you a life of wealth. And he said, I don't want it. And his desire was he wanted to study Chassidus. He wanted to study Torah. But then when the Alter Rebbe said, let me give you at least a bracha for a long life, he said, sure, but not peasant years, not cheap years. I don't want to be that. And it goes into the discussion about eyes that do not see and ears that do not hear. So what's going on? So to fill in the gap here, what Rabbi Yekusiel was talking about is something that we all have backwards. We all look and say, wait, let me get wealth first. Let me get everything that I need. Let me organize my life. Everything will be in order. And then we'll do some learning. We'll organize our days. Of course, I'll have all this money. Now I'll have all the time in the world to study Torah. And what Rabbi Yekusiel is saying is, you got it backwards, buddy. You first need to organize your life. You need to know that you have to learn Torah. That Torah is a daily, is part of our lives. We have to study every day. We have to worship Hashem every day. We need to appreciate God and put our lives in order first when it comes to godliness. Then we can ask for all the wealth and everything else that comes with it. In this week's Parsha, you have Avram who didn't have children. And he had an opportunity to ask God, and he asked God for a child. And specifically, he was into the blessing. Not just, can I just have a child? A healthy child, and he wanted nachas from this child, that it should be a leader for the Jewish people. He was very specific. That went into that bracha. And that's really what's going on here with Rabbi Yekusiel. The same thing. That when we're asking for a bracha, and we're asking for something great, we have to make sure everything's in order. And when it goes to the last part of the Hayom Yom, and it says, I don't want peasant years. What he meant to say is, what's the point of living if they're not going to be years that are involved in being involved in Torah and worshiping God? I want a long life, but I want a life full of substance. I want to be involved. I want to know that God is here. I want to be able to worship. I want to be able to daven. I want to be able to do all these mitzvahs. I want years of substance, not peasant years that I'm not being able to apply myself or I'm out to lunch. It's about having a life. It's a quality of life. It's about maxing out every single day. And that's really the blessing of this Hayom Yom. It's about making sure we have our priorities in order, that we need for sure the Torah first. We need to have our lives in order first. And then we ask for all the wealth and all the blessings, and God willing, those will come as well. And then there's an interesting side note. I know we've mentioned this over the year, but essentially when the Hayom Yom was put together, a person's life is average of 70 years. And if you were to take the 383 days of the Hayom Yom and you would divide it by 70, that means every 5 to 6 days is another year in the life. So if you would do this calculation, and we brought it up from time to time, we're actually at the age of 63. And why that's important is talking about blessings and talking about getting into the details of a bracha. Yaakov was actually 63 when he received the bracha from Yitzchak. So before he ran to go get himself a shidduch, it says that Yitzchak gave him a bracha, vayita lecha, and all these different blessings. They're very substantial blessings. And he was at the age of 63. And that's also about blessings. And today's Hayom Yom would be for a person that's 63 years old. So the message of the day, priorities, priorities, priorities. We need to know what is exactly the most important thing in our life. We talked about it last week, about attaching ourselves into something higher than us, attaching to God, and knowing, and again, all the other blessings that we've talked about in Elul and Tishrei, knowing that we're connected to God and that we're there, God will give us everything else that He's supposed to, and we should have a long, healthy life, not peasant years, very wealthy years, happy years, and all the other blessings. Have a fantastic week. I'll talk to you more later on.